Hey, Jason Martinkus here. I want to say thank you for visiting worthyofyourtrust.com. I'm glad that you're interested in the book. I wanted to take a few minutes just to address some key questions that come up over and over again that were really the impetus for writing this book. One of those is this. The question is posed as, is it the husband's responsibility to build trust or the wife's responsibility to trust? And day in and day out, week in and week out in my office, I have to remind couples that the work, the responsibility lies solely on the husband's shoulders. A wife can't will herself to trust after there's been infidelity and betrayal, whether that's with pornography or prostitutes or strip clubs or physical or emotional affairs. A wife can't just simply will herself to trust. It's a husband's responsibility to do the work with consistency to build trust, which leads to my second question that comes up is, how in the world do I do that? And is this book mainly theory or is it practice? Listen, I wrote this book to be full of practical, tangible things that you can do day in and day out to rebuild trust. Some of it is stuff that I did personally over the last 10 years to rebuild trust in our marriage. Some of it is stuff that I wish I had done over the last 10 years because, frankly, I've screwed it up a lot along the way too. Trust building sometimes feels like it's a couple steps forward and like 8 steps back. Some days it feels that way. But with consistency over time, trust can be rebuilt. That leads to the last question. Wives ask me all the time is, well, how will I know? How will I know that he's really working and that trust is being rebuilt in our marriage? And on some level, I say to wives, you have spider sense. Like, you know when something is wrong. You also know when something is right. And so when you watch that work, when you see the daily, consistent work of your husband, you'll start to feel the texture of it to be different. The way he interacts, his body language, the verbiage he uses, the tone with which he speaks, and the simple practices and rhythms of day-to-day life. You'll start to see the texture of that is different, and you'll begin to trust that. Again, sometimes it feels like you take steps backwards. That's part of the process. But for a wife to be watching for a change in her husband's demeanor, more humility, less defensiveness, actually doing things that she can look at day to day and say, I saw him do this, and I saw him do that, and I heard him say this, and I heard him say that. Wives are looking for practical evidence that something is different. And most wives, this isn't across the board, most wives that I engage with around this, they say, I desperately want to trust my husband again. I just can't. I just don't know how. And so, with that, writing this book was really filling the pages with so much of what went right in our relationship and our journey, and what goes right in my office for couples, and the pitfalls to watch out for, the things that are really non-negotiable along the way. So if you're interested in the book and you haven't purchased it yet, I hope that you will. If you have questions about it, if you've read through it and there are things that just don't make sense, please don't hesitate to contact me. You can email me at jason@worthyofhertrust.com. I hope it's helpful to you. Thanks again.